It's 2 in the afternoon and Sung Jinwoo is snoring. Suddenly, he receives a call. It's his sister Sung Jina, telling him that today is the school interview and that it's already 2 in the afternoon, so he needs to wake up. But the most epic part of this is that when she sees him in person, she asks if he's really her brother. Well, since this is the start of the thrilling second season, it's a good time to remind you to subscribe. The difference with my channel compared to others is that I upload videos the same day the anime episodes are released, so let this adventure begin. The narrator reminds us that there is a global struggle to prevent the monsters from the portals from attacking humanity. Back with the siblings, Jinwoo's sister tells him she didn't know a person could change so much, and all the girls at school are crazy about him. She even asks if he wants her to get him a girlfriend. Later, Jinwoo is in the interview with the principal to discuss his sister. The principal says Gina is an excellent student and will be able to study medicine as she has always wanted. The meeting ends, but the principal asks Jinwoo not to leave because she has a question for him. She asks if Gina awakens as a hunter, would he allow her to work in that world? This surprises Jinwoo, and he responds that he would never let her be part of that world. The principal is about to ask him for a favor, but as usual, that scene isn't shown on screen, so for now, we won't know exactly what she said. Later, Jinwoo is waiting for a girl who comes out of a certain place, and she remembers that he's Sung, Gina's brother. Jinwoo asks if she knows his sister, and she's surprised that he's Gina's brother. This girl is Song-yi, and she kinda knows what this is about. She tells him she won't return to school or stop being a hunter. However, Jinwoo points out that she's a B-rank hunter, which is very low, and she won't survive with that rank. Song-yi replies that she doesn't need anyone preaching to her, and that she knows he's also an E-rank hunter. But Jinwoo clarifies that he didn't come to tell her to stop being a hunter, and invites her to follow him. Meanwhile, at the airport, we see that Hwang Dong-soo has just arrived. A guy approaches him and asks how long he'll stay, but Hwang says he doesn't like this garbage nation, so he won't stay long. The man then asks if he came to see those two individuals, but Hwang replies that he didn't come to see them. He knows what he came to do, and the supervision team better turn a blind eye because they know exactly what he plans to do. He will eliminate them in a dungeon. He then asks if the man plans to stop him, and Hwang Dong-soo gives a devilish smirk, while the man nervously says he's just doing his job. Meanwhile, Choi Jong-un is talking to President Go Gun-hee about the ants from the island that have grown wings. Jong-un explains that even though they could fly, the ants' bodies fell into the sea, so for now it seems they can't cover long distances. The president responds that he will study these ants to understand what they might do next. Later, we see several people gathered in front of a portal. Suddenly, Jinwoo arrives and greets his old companions, and since he's with Song-yi, they're surprised because they had seen her before. Then, they inform Jinwoo that a C-rank portal has just appeared at this location. However, another guy suddenly arrives, telling everyone to stop talking so much and get into action. Jinwoo asks who that is, and one of his teammates explains that it's a high-ranked hunter named Kim Chul. We quickly realize that this guy's annoyed because he believes he will be leading a group of E-rank hunters, Jinwoo and Song-yi, looking down on them for being weak. And basically the team is composed of this rank A guy, several rank B members, Jinwoo's 2 rank C friends, and Jinwoo and Song-yi, both rank E. Jinwoo reveals that he orchestrated all this intentionally to see if Song-yi would reconsider, but she remains excited. So, they enter the portal. Upon entering, Jinwoo senses something is wrong, and the portal entrance turns red. Suddenly, Jinwoo is trapped inside the portal and urgently tells his teammates to alert the attack squad that the portal has transformed into a red one. Meanwhile, the White Tiger Guildmaster, Baek Yoonho, is notified of the situation and declares that he will head there immediately. Something crazy happens next. All our heroes suddenly appear in a mountainous, snow-covered area. The rank A hunter confirms this is a red portal, and Song-yi asks Jinwoo what a red portal is. Jinwoo explains that red portals are the most dangerous because they block all communication with the outside world and can only be escaped by defeating the boss. To make things worse, the monsters inside are stronger than the predicted rank. Suddenly, 2 arrows strike. One kills a boy, while the other is intercepted by Jinwoo, aimed directly at Song-yi. Another girl notices how Jinwoo saved Song-yi and realizes they were attacked by 2 ice elves. Jinwoo clarifies that those 2 were ice elves, cruel and merciless beings. The rank A guy reminds everyone that red portals are rank B or higher and says he'll split the group into 2 teams, which Jinwoo finds reckless. However, the rank A guy assures that those who stay with him will survive. but cruelly insists that only rank B members can join him, claiming he doesn't want trash on his team. He explains that one day inside this world equals 1 hour in the real world, so it could take months to be rescued. A beautiful girl decides to stay with the weaker group and tells Jinwoo that the rank A hunter didn't even notice the arrows, but she saw how Jinwoo reacted, proving he's from a high rank. The teams split and wish each other luck. Hours later, the rank A team advances and discovers bear claw marks. The rank A hunter doubts the other group can survive. Suddenly, he senses danger, and enormous bears appear, initiating battle. I have to admit, the rank A guy is quite powerful. Back with Jinwoo's group, the girl warns they are entering the territory of ice bears and suggests turning back. But Jinwoo insists they continue. His reasoning? If it's just bears, they only need to deal with them and not the intelligent elves. The girl is impressed since she hadn't thought that way. Jinwoo notices the extreme cold in the forest, so he opens his inventory and pulls out several coats for everyone, astonishing them with his interdimensional magic. As everyone warms up, Song-yi asks him to tell the truth about who he really is. Jinwoo responds that since he brought her, he'll take responsibility for her but doesn't want her or anyone else, asking him questions. Suddenly, a massive white bear appears. Outside the red portal, Baek Yoonho tries to enter, but finds the portal completely sealed. He comments that perhaps the rank B members inside might survive with luck. His men inform him that several hunters, including Jinwoo, the one Baek is looking for, are inside the portal. When asked about Jinwoo's rank, they reply that he's supposedly rank E, but suspect he underwent a second awakening. Things escalate further as Hwang Dongsu arrives. Baek questions why Dongsu is there, but Dongsu ignores him and instead asks what an E-rank hunter is doing inside a red portal, referring to Jinwoo. Dongsu remarks that Jinwoo is lucky since he can't interfere with the red portals. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is beating the bears barehanded. Later, they're seen frying bear meat and eating together. Jinwoo then heads alone to the bear den and summons his entire shadow army, including Igris the Crimson. An epic battle against the bears begins, though the fight quickly drains Jinwoo's mana. Suddenly, the bear boss appears, so powerful that it instantly defeats Jinwoo's entire shadow army, exhausting his mana. Now it's Igris's turn. Not playing around, Igris swiftly subdues the bear boss. The bear powers up, but Igris, uninterested in games, finishes it off by slicing its head clean off. Jinwoo reflects that if Igris had used his sword the entire time during their previous fight, he would have died for sure. Perhaps now, they are finally on the same level. Meanwhile, the other group has been completely annihilated by the elves, with their captain barely escaping while the elf leader watches silently. The most epic thing of all is that we now see how Jinwoo spiritually controls the bears, adding them to his shadow army. Everyone outside says that 3 hours have already passed, which means that 3 days have passed inside. Baek mentions that solo leveling portals are severe, and Vin Diesel says that maybe Jinwoo is already dead. So he thinks about leaving, though he later decides to wait a little longer. Then, the Korean Vin Diesel threatens the person who invited Jinwoo into the portal, asking if he is making money off Jinwoo. But Baek increases his powers and tells Vin Diesel to let him go. Vin Diesel replies not to give him orders, so things become quite dangerous, and the two begin to fight. Then, we return inside the red portal, and we see the rank A hunter walking alone, thinking he needs to find another team to avoid being the only one killed. Suddenly, he arrives where Jinwoo has just defeated all the ice bears. The hunter realizes that's why no bears have shown up to kill him, and thinks it's impossible for C-rank hunters to have done it. They would never be capable of that. So he suspects it might have been the white elves and decides to flee from the area. Back where the S-rank hunters are outside the portal, the guy with Vin Diesel stopped the two S-ranks when they were about to punch each other. He tells Vin Diesel that he examined Jinwoo 2 months ago and he is still an E-rank, so he should stop suspecting crazy things. He also reminds him that his brother died fighting monsters, not because of those two guys who were with him, but Vin Diesel insists he doesn't believe those stories, claiming the rich kid, the son of Yujin Construction's owners, killed his brother. The other guy asks why he is pursuing Jinwoo. Suddenly, he receives a message on his phone and leaves. Meanwhile, back in the red portal, the guys are still eating and living happily, while the rank A hunter watches them, wondering how they could have survived. He questions how they got coats, a hut, and food. Suddenly, he angrily approaches them, demanding to know who gave them all those things. Suspecting the girl who abandoned him, he draws his sword and gives them 3 seconds to confess how they got everything. At that moment, Jinwoo appears and gives him a brutal beating. Jinwoo then says that there are unwanted visitors who have been following the rank A hunter. He demands they reveal themselves, and immediately, all the white demon elves appear. Among them, the leader calls all humans trash. Jinwoo asks why he calls them that, and the demon elf wonders how Jinwoo can understand him. Park Heejin also asks Jinwoo since when he can speak the ice elves' language. The elf leader says it's better if Jinwoo understands him, and reveals that this elf warned him of their existence, saying there was a strong human among them who wants to fight. Jinwoo instantly decapitates him and charges at the elf leader, but he escapes, though Jinwoo kills his horse. The leader returns and asks Jinwoo why he is among humans, since he is clearly not one. The elf then realizes that Jinwoo himself doesn't know what he truly is. The elf explains that they hear a voice telling them to kill humans, but they don't hear it with him. The elf leader proposes that Jinwoo hand over the humans behind him, and they will spare him. Jinwoo notices something strange, as if the elves were holograms. He refuses, saying he won't hand anyone over. The elves warn him that he is outnumbered, but Jinwoo summons his shadow soldiers, including his dark bears. While some elves aim arrows at the people with Jinwoo, he, faster than Sonic, defeats them all before they can shoot. Jinwoo realizes the elves are nearly invincible, but require immense mana to regenerate. He also acknowledges that the leader is stronger than him. The elf introduces himself as Baruka. A colossal battle begins between Jinwoo and Baruka. The elf states he hasn't felt so excited in a battle for a long time. Suddenly, a fireball, Katon, falls from the sky. It was Jinwoo's dark mages, launching fireballs at the elf. The rank A hunter tries to attack Jinwoo, but Igris defeats him. They then use his death to summon a powerful being called Iron, who blocks an attack from the elf. A super epic fight ensues. Meanwhile, Songyi asks Heejin if hunter battles are always like this, and she responds that this battle is on a whole other level. The elf leader then declares that he could take on Iron, Igris, and Jinwoo all at once. Jinwoo replies that he has just killed all his soldiers and orders Iron to grab Baruka, allowing the mages to strike him simultaneously. After the attack, Baruka emerges, destroying Iron and declaring he will finish everyone. However, he doesn't notice Jinwoo attacking him invisibly, delivering a fatal blow with Iron's final strike. Jinwoo levels up significantly and assures his companions that the red portal is now finished as an exit portal appears. Before leaving, Jinwoo decides not to go without adding the blue elf to his shadow army. Suddenly, they begin to exit the portal. President Bayek is shocked that his rank A hunter isn't among those leaving. The next to exit are Songyi and Jinwoo, and the portal disappears. Bayek is confused, since only the lowest ranked hunters exited. Bayek stops Jinwoo, saying he has questions for him. But Jinwoo, exhausted, tells him to speak with his guild instead. Bayek then uses force, saying it's an order, demanding to know what happened inside. Jinwoo responds that he saved 2 of his guild members and should be thanked. Baek concedes. After Jinwoo leaves, Baek orders his manager to bring Jinwoo into their guild at any cost. Later, Jinwoo drops Songyi off at her home, and she thanks him for everything. Jinwoo feels sad because he failed to recruit the Ice Demon Elf despite 3 attempts. The next day, Jinho shows up at Jinwoo's house wearing armor. They then go to pick up Songyi, who has been encouraged to return to school after the experience, and she seems to have developed feelings for Jinwoo. Sometime later, Jinwoo and Jinho are in a dungeon, and Jinho is amazed by Jinwoo's shadow soldiers. Then, Jinwoo's army spends its time farming magic stones, and Jinho tells Jinwoo that he should at least let him extract the stones himself. One of the shadow soldiers offers Jinho several stones. Meanwhile, we see other hunters terrified because a human defeated them. The only one left conscious doesn't understand what the man is saying because he only speaks Korean, and the hunter speaks English. From the little English he knows, the strange man says, "I am human." After the dungeon, the guys are eating at a restaurant. Jinwoo tells Jinho that he will be unreachable for a while because he's going to a certain place. Jinho, feeling insecure, asks Jinwoo to tell him honestly if he thinks Jinho is a burden. Jinho then reveals that he has an older brother, but they've never been close, and that his brother doesn't treat him well. However, Jinwoo treats him like a brother. Jinwoo promises Jinho that from now on, they're brothers. Later, we see that the strange man was captured. He claims to be a hunter from abroad who was trapped inside a portal for 10 years. The portal was connected to the United States, which is why he ended up there. To address this issue, they call Dong-soo, who is very angry because he was interrupted from what he was doing. That evening in Korea, Jinwoo tells his sister that he will be away for many days. She asks him who he is going with, but Jinwoo doesn't want to tell her. She teases him, asking since when he got a girlfriend. Later, we see Jinwoo preparing to face Cerberus again. As he delves deeper into the castle, he realizes it's filled with demons and he must fight them. Meanwhile, Jinho asks his father to let him take over the guild. His father reminds him that his older brother is also involved, and that Jinho's achievements have been significant because of Jinwoo, the suspicious young man on his team. However, Jinho insists that he still wants to run the guild. His father agrees on one condition. Since the Red Gate incident, the White Tiger Guild has been struggling to recruit Jinwoo, so Jinho must bring him into their guild before they do. We see Jinwoo defeating demons and attempting to add them to his shadow army, but the system prevents him, saying the demon's mana is tainted. Jinwoo laments this, as he had defeated many demons. He earns a reward to access an upper floor. The dungeon is vast, so Jinwoo uses the leader Ice Bear to move quickly. However, many demons appear, and the bear wipes them out. As Jinwoo ascends, he notes that the monsters grow increasingly powerful. At one point, he has defeated 3,700 souls, continuing until he reaches his goal of 10,000 souls. Eventually, he faces a boss on the 50th floor. Meanwhile, on Earth, the White Tiger Guild searches for Jinwoo to recruit him. Jinwoo commands his shadow soldiers to fight and leaves the main demon for himself. To his surprise, the demon is incredibly fast and attacks Jinwoo, but Jinwoo punches it, sending it flying. However, the demon doesn't give up encounters, forcing Jinwoo to use Iron's shield. As Jinwoo prepares to attack, the demon realizes what he's about to do. Jinwoo then runs and positions himself atop a building, drawing his Titan-slaying sword to attack and kill the demon. He obtains a fragment of the World Tree. Later, we see Vin Diesel meeting the hunter, who appeared in the United States. Vin is clearly furious about being interrupted from what he was doing in Japan. The mysterious man tells Vin Diesel that humanity is wrong. Monsters and portals are just the tip of the iceberg, and there are far greater dangers. He refuses to elaborate, saying his goal is to prevent the calamity. Vin Diesel ignores him and checks the documents, discovering that the man claims to have a son. Vin Diesel asks the man for his son's name, and he responds, Jinwoo. Oh wow. Meanwhile, Jinwoo defeats another boss, the Angel of Death, and levels up twice. Vin Diesel tells the strange man that his son is dead because he killed him. Moments later, the two destroy the area in a fierce battle, with Vin Diesel ultimately being defeated. What a plot twist. Jinwoo then notes that he has reached the 25th floor, but can't advance further due to a lack of food. He reveals that he found several strange items, including a key of unknown purpose or timing. He also explains that the two bosses he defeated provided 2 items for creating the elixir of life. He needs just one more item to save his mother. Upon leaving the Infernal Castle, Jinwoo verifies that he has obtained 2 materials required to craft the elixir of life. Now, only one remains, the purified blood of the Demon King. To acquire it, he must be fully prepared, but he views it as a positive sign that his level has increased significantly after his journey to the Demon King's castle. However, officially, his rank is still E, and although he needs to level up, he cannot participate in high-level raid missions if his rank remains as it is. For this reason, he decides to put an end to this farce and resolve to undergo a rank reevaluation. The next day, he visits the association headquarters to participate in the reevaluation. Hyun, a member of White Tiger, happens to be there. As soon as Hyun notices Jinwoo's presence, he makes a call to Baek to inform him that Jinwoo has arrived, prompting Baek to quickly prepare to head over. Meanwhile, Jinwoo waits for a while until he is called into the examination room. The staff member in charge instructs him to place his hands on the black crystal. However, when the system tries to process the data, it experiences an error. Moments later, the director arrives to investigate the issue, and the staff member shows him the malfunction. When the director repeats the process himself and sees the results firsthand, he is astonished. It turns out that the issue is not a mechanical failure, but an alert indicating an inability to evaluate Jinwoo. In other words, Jinwoo's magical power exceeds the machine's limit, serving as proof that the country has finally witnessed the emergence of a 10th hunter of rank S. Outside the building, Choi asks Jin Chul about the progress of the investigation into the flying ants. Jin Chul explains that an autopsy has already been performed, and they are comparing the internal structures and residual magical power to previous species in order to estimate their current capabilities. This process will take some time to reach a conclusion. After listening to this, Choi brings up the topic of the Red Portal, mentioning that he learned White Tiger allowed a non-member to participate in the raid mission and even let him defeat the dungeon boss. This piques his curiosity about who that person might be, but Jin Chul clarifies that he does not know the details since he was not present that day. At that moment, they hear a commotion inside the building. Thanks to their advanced hearing, Choi decides to investigate as he has an interest in what is happening there. When Jinwoo is at the entrance, a stir arises regarding him because the news of his rank S status has already spread. The director informs him that it will take some time to issue his new rank identification, so he needs to wait. Moments later, Choi and Jin Chul enter the scene, and everyone present recognizes Choi immediately, as he is the head of the Hunters Guild. Jinwoo recognizes Choi as well, being fully aware of his titles and status. However, despite Choi introducing himself cordially to engage in conversation, Jinwoo brushes past him, declaring that he is in a hurry and must leave. This leaves Choi quite surprised, though he does not take offense. Choi notices just after Jinwoo vanishes without a trace, and Jin Chul speculates that Jinwoo might be the assassin type. At that moment, Beck arrives, having come to look for Jinwoo. Choi confirms how special Jinwoo is, due to Beck's unexpected arrival, and realizes that Jinwoo is the individual who overcame the Red Portal. On the other hand, as soon as Beck sees Choi, he realizes that Choi already knows about Jinwoo. Later that night, Jinwoo visits his mother in the hospital. Upon leaving, Jin Chul surprises him with a visit. Jin Chul admits that Jinwoo has made him realize how blind he was, as he never recognized Jinwoo's potential before. Jin Chul explains that the surveillance division, which he belongs to, is tasked with monitoring hunters and punishing those who break the law. However, he clarifies that they are not watching Jinwoo as a criminal. He also notes that the surveillance division is the only group that oversees hunters, though rank S hunters are beyond their control due to their overwhelming power. Suddenly, the president of the Hunters Association, Go Gun-hee, arrives and introduces himself. Afterward, they go to a private location to talk. Gun-hee reveals that the reevaluation is entirely unnecessary because the moment Jinwoo receives the result, his rank S status will already be official. He explains that the pause before making it public is a grace period, allowing the association to establish a connection with extraordinary talents like him. Gun-hee elaborates that while the Hunters Association is massive, most of the top hunters prefer joining guilds to gain status and wealth. Going straight to the point, Gun-hee asks Jinwoo to join the association, offering him the most important position within it. Jinwoo is surprised by the proposal and asks why Gun-hee is making such an offer. Gun-hee explains that it is not the government that supports the country now, but hunters. The hunters are divided into 5 main guilds, representing the 5 dragons that maintain a delicate balance. However, if Jinwoo were to join one of these guilds, that balance would be disrupted. The association must become a 6th power in the country capable of overseeing the others, and Gun-hee assures Jinwoo that he has the power to make this vision a reality. Jinwoo carefully considers the proposal, recognizing that it is not a bad offer, as it guarantees future opportunities for advancement. Furthermore, with Gun-hee's influence over the government, media, and more, accepting the offer would undoubtedly change his life. However, Jinwoo decides to reject the offer because he desires to fight, to battle monsters in dungeons. He believes his place is there. Gun-hee is taken aback by Jinwoo's response and notices that his eyes show no signs of dishonesty. Moved by Jinwoo's conviction, Gun-hee feels admiration for someone with such resolve. What he does is accept Jinwoo's response, who, after apologizing, ends up leaving to go home. On his way, he reminds himself that he must keep leveling up to cure his mother, something he cannot stop doing since he has the ability to continue growing. The next day, Dong-soo wakes up after the beating he received, and he is visited by the deputy director, who directly asks him if Sung Il-hwan is truly a monster. This causes Dong-soo to recall some of the things he witnessed about him, and without hesitation, he replies that there is nothing human about him. After hearing this, the deputy director tells him to focus on recovering, and to report to the administration when he is discharged. As for Sung, they are still looking for him, but the deputy director does not believe they will be able to capture someone capable of defeating him. When left alone, Dong-soo begins to boil with rage as he recalls, with great clarity, the threats Sung made about staying away from his family. He considers this a deeply humiliating defeat, but refuses to accept it. Since he knows where Sung is heading, he plans to obtain an artifact to crush him alive. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is also thinking about these artifacts. Artifacts can be considered artificial relics, but for hunters, they are high-level equipment crafted by the best artisans. Now that there are more hunters, these items are found in abundance at online auctions, but he complains about why they are so expensive. While checking their prices, he wants to acquire the perfect equipment for the Demon King's castle, but he doesn't find anything convincing in the store. Since the Greed Orb is transferable, he sees the option of selling it to get money. The enhancement rates of the best equipment range from 20% to 30%, but this orb has the power to double magical damage, making it extremely valuable. The problem is that he is still an E rank, so people will likely investigate its origin. If it had been registered in a higher-ranking portal, he would have an excuse, but being an E rank, that's impossible. After doing some research online, he finds an ad looking for people to mine in high-ranking portals. This brings us to Go Gun-hee, who is reviewing Jinwoo's information in detail and finds his identification strange since he looks so young in the photo. He wonders if his rank was falsified, but Jinwoo's guildmate explains that he has suffered several lethal injuries, so that's unlikely. Regarding Jinwoo's mother, she suffers from eternal slumber, and he dedicates himself to paying for his sister's studies, making him the financial pillar of his family. Gun-hee also learns that Jinwoo recently joined a guild raid organized by the Hunters Guild, though he is part of the mining team. Returning to Jinwoo, he now presents himself to his superior to join the mining team. Despite being an E rank, they accept him without any issues. In high-ranking dungeon raids, tasks are divided. The attack team eliminates monsters, the mining team extracts mana ores, and the collection team gathers monster corpses. These tasks, while demanding manpower, are quite lucrative. While Jinwoo reflects on this, Choi Jong-in is inside an A-rank portal, using his powerful fire magic to strategically annihilate the massive monsters in front of him. He instructs the tank-type hunters to focus on defense, which allows them to advance smoothly thanks to his abilities. At one point, he advises Jae to be cautious of certain smells, knowing Jae has a sensitive nose. After some time, Jinwoo sees Choi Jong-in and his team exit the portal, having defeated all the monsters except the boss with ease. This surprises Jinwoo, as they emerged unscathed despite it being an A-rank portal, confirming that Choi Jong-in's power is genuine. Jinwoo also observes the Hunters Guild's vice captain, Cha Hae-in, the country's 9th S-rank hunter. Jinwoo, captivated, comments on her overwhelming presence and wonders how many people in the world possess an aura like hers. For a brief moment, she feels an incredibly strong presence coming from one direction, almost as if it came from Chairman Gun-hee himself, but he dismisses it as his imagination. Though Jinwoo remains hidden, he notices that Gun-hee is more perceptive than expected, nearly identifying him in the crowd. Afterward, Jinwoo joins the mining and collection team to begin working. Once inside the portal, he notices the peculiarities of this A-rank dungeon. Regarding the boss, he assumes it must be stronger than Vulcan or Midas, the bosses of the Demon Castle, and becomes interested in witnessing it himself. At this point, someone mocks him for being merely an E rank. However, one of the miners quickly shuts up when Jinwoo gives him a sharp glare. When they begin working, Jinwoo demonstrates extraordinary strength and stamina while extracting mana ores. During the break, he convinces his superior to let him keep mining, intending to use the time when no one is watching to explore further and see the boss. Eventually, Jinwoo reaches the boss room entrance, preparing himself by drawing his dagger. But out of nowhere, Cha Hae-in appears behind him, asking what he is doing there. At first, Jinwoo doesn't respond at all and remains silent without moving, just smiling. But she asks again, "What are you doing there?" However, he still doesn't answer, so she asks once more, "What are you doing there, and why aren't you responding?" Jinwoo closes his eyes and thinks to himself, "How careless I am. What the heck was I thinking?" So he responds that he got lost and ended up in this place. She questions whether he is truly a miner and warns him that this is the boss's chamber, telling him to stay away. Meanwhile, Jinwoo analyzes her and thinks that the rumors about her seem to be true. She is undetectable until she speaks. Suddenly, the weapon Jinwoo had in his hand disappears. She exclaims that she swears she saw him holding a weapon, but now it's gone. Jinwoo turns to look at her with a very kind expression and apologizes. She then asks him to leave the area because waking the boss would mean the death of all the miners. Jinwoo begins to leave, but suddenly she senses something strange coming from him and tells him to wait a moment. She moves closer and starts sniffing him, surprising Jinwoo. Inside, she thinks to herself that he doesn't smell bad, which makes her suspicious about whether he is truly a miner. She then asks him if he is also a hunter. Jinwoo replies that he is, and she looks at his identification, seeing that he is ranked E. She then apologizes and advises him to be more careful, because this dungeon is very large. Jinwoo leaves, but she remains deep in thought, wondering how it was possible that he didn't smell bad if he was a miner. And in fact, he smelled good. Hours later, the other miners are calling Jinwoo lucky because, in addition to getting lost, he ran into Cha and was fortunate not to die. They also mention that most of them have to settle for looking at her from afar. They also tell him that she never rests because she is always making sure that no one approaches the boss's chamber. Additionally, they explain that she doesn't tolerate the smell of either monsters or hunters well, which is why she always wears a handkerchief over her mouth. Jinwoo finds this peculiarity of hers strange, but what was even stranger was that she suddenly sniffed him when she caught his scent. Jinwoo wonders if he doesn't have the typical smell of other hunters. He then remembers that the ice demon elf from the red portal said something similar. At the end of the day, he receives his payment for the work and is thanked because, thanks to him, they finished earlier. The head miner also tells him that he has never seen someone as skilled in all his years of work. He then offers Jinwoo a stable job with a good salary. However, Jinwoo declines the offer, saying that he only came because he had free time. The head miner then asks him to please come back tomorrow as well. Jinwoo considers it since he has nothing to do the next day. The head miner then tells him that they will be exploring 2 portals at the same time, and Jinwoo asks where they will be meeting for the expeditions. This excites the head miner, who asks if he is really going to come and tells him he will pay him double. Meanwhile, that night, our beautiful blonde asks for an investigation on Jinwoo from the mining team. The person she is speaking with tells her that yesterday, someone else asked for the same thing, specifically Master Choi, but that Choi doesn't want anyone to know about the investigation. Our beautiful blonde is deep in thought and says that something doesn't add up. Among all the hunters she has sniffed, he is the first one who smells good. The next day, Jinwoo is walking toward the 2 expeditions for the 2 portals, and the head miners are happy to see him. Moments later, Jinwoo is working like an android, and thanks to him, the mining team is progressing very quickly. They ask him again if he is sure he doesn't want to work with them, and the head miner offers him 5 times the usual salary. Even so, Jinwoo refuses. Suddenly, a captain named Sun Ki-hoon appears. He asks the head miner to lend him someone to accompany him into a dangerous area of one of the portals, but no one wants to go. However, Jinwoo volunteers, impressing everyone, and the bosses tell him that this is madness, that there are very dangerous monsters inside. The captain asks for Jinwoo's rank and is informed that he is rank E, and for some reason, the captain accepts him. Later, they stand in front of the portal, and Jinwoo notices that it is enormous. He also observes that there are 6 rank A hunters and 3 rank B hunters, and he is impressed that the Hunters Guild has 2 teams of such a high level. Suddenly, they are inside the portal, and Jinwoo notes that there is indeed less magical power in this portal, but he has a bad feeling about it. A girl tells him not to be nervous because everyone here is very strong. Jinwoo thanks her. Suddenly, the leader stops, and everyone enters attack mode, something that impresses Jinwoo because no one received any orders. They just acted on pure instinct. Suddenly, demonic jackals begin to attack them, but the battle does not last long because they defeat them easily. The leader finds it strange that rank C jackals are in a rank A portal, meaning they shouldn't even be able to survive in a portal like this. However, Jinwoo notices that these beasts have collars, meaning they have an owner. Someone left them here on purpose. Suddenly, another strange sound fills the place, and incredibly strong ogres appear, the owners of the jackals. Jinwoo realizes that his bad feeling was justified. The first ogre launches an attack, and it is so powerful that it almost breaks the squad leader's shield, leaving him quite scared. The battle begins. A mage in the group attacks with a fireball, making one of the ogres retreat. A girl with magic also captures an ogre, though not for long. The mage then summons fire guardians, and the fight continues. However, the ogres severely injure one of the girls on the team. The team leader begins to say that they are in serious trouble because these ogres are rank A, and the rank B hunters cannot handle them. One of the rank B hunters has just lost an arm, It turns out that the girl who spoke to Jinwoo at the beginning of the dungeon is a healer, and she tells the injured hunter not to move. And wow, she restores his arm. This is truly high-level magic. Suddenly, one of the ogres is about to finish them off, and the healer accepts that she is going to die. However, Jinwoo suddenly massacres the ogre. The team leader defeats another ogre, but realizes it is because the ogres have suddenly become slower. It turns out that Jinwoo has been injuring their ankles and wrists, but invisibly, since he does not want to interfere too much. Thanks to Jinwoo's help, the battle finally ends. Later, the leader investigates which member made the monsters weaker, but no one admits to being the cause. However, the team's mages know that Jinwoo used his stealth ability and feel underestimated, but they say nothing. After all, he saved them, and one of the mages thinks that he must have his reasons for not revealing how powerful he really is. The captain decides to retreat because the dungeon is full of surprises. When they reach the exit, they realize that the portal has a barrier preventing them from leaving. The mage says she can solve it, but that means there is a high-level monster in this dungeon that they would not be able to fight. Suddenly, she senses the presence of the dungeon boss, so she asks for help to unlock the exit as quickly as possible. Jinwoo wonders why the threat was not felt from outside the portal. Suddenly, they realize that the mages have been cursed for touching the portal to leave. Then, they see that there are more than 50 ogres in the area. The leader knows that if they fight, they will die. The leader confronts the dungeon boss, the one who blocked and cursed the exit. The boss introduces himself as Kargalgan and says that there is no one stronger than him in the dungeon. He gives them a choice. Either they die there, or they go to his lair. The leader tells him that they will go see him. Inside the portal, our heroes arrive at the Orc Kingdom, where there's actually an orc even more powerful than the one who confronted them at the exit. Yes, my friends, this is the Orc King.
Ingu and his company find themselves surrounded by hundreds of high orcs deep within the dungeon. The atmosphere is oppressive. Every hunter in Team B feels the weight of the looming danger. Despite being seasoned hunters, they had never faced a threat like this before. The mere presence of Kargalgan, the leader of the High Orcs, is enough to paralyze them all. His magic radiates a pressure that makes the hunters tremble. With an imposing and authoritative presence, Kargalgan looks down on the hunters with contempt. It is at this moment that the team leader, Kyun, summoning his courage, demands to know why they have been brought to this place. The orc leader's response is chilling. For entertainment. Those simple words shatter any glimmer of hope within Team B. Kargalgan doesn't see them as a threat or even as worthy adversaries. To him, the hunters are mere toys, cannon fodder to satisfy his clan's amusement. Yet, amidst them all, Kyun, the team leader, refuses to accept his fate. This insult is too much to bear. Blinded by rage and humiliation, he charges into an attack without considering the consequences. Unfortunately, his resistance is futile. In a matter of seconds, the orc leader crushes him with a series of powerful spells that leave him defenseless, showcasing the vast disparity in power between them. Jingu, who had remained silent until now, coldly analyzes the situation. He cannot allow Team B to be slaughtered, but he also doesn't want to reveal his full strength. However, when he sees Kyun on the brink of death, his decision is instantaneous. With calm determination, he steps in front of his fallen comrade and rescues him. To the rest of the hunters, his intervention is a ray of hope. The orc leader already knew that someone in this raid team was incredibly powerful, so he wasn't truly surprised when Jingu stepped in to protect his comrades. However, what did catch him off guard was the fact that a mere human possessed such power. At that moment, the balance of power shifts dramatically. Jingu, seeing no other options, unleashes his true strength without hesitation. He summons his shadow army. One by one, the shadows rise from the ground, surrounding him with an imposing presence. Kargalgan, who had dominated the situation with absolute confidence until now, finally shows a flicker of doubt in his gaze. In that instant, the orc leader realizes that what stands before him is no delusional or egocentric human. It is a monarch. But before diving fully into this intense battle within the dungeon, the action outside begins to take an unexpected turn. Jin Chul, one of the inspectors from the Hunters Association, has been discreetly tracking Jingu's movements, but now his interest has escalated to a higher level. What started as mere curiosity has morphed into growing concern. He's not the only one who has set their sights on the mysterious hunter. The Hunters Association itself has begun to closely monitor him as well. As they approach the portal, Jin Chul notices something unsettling. This is no ordinary dungeon. Despite being an A-rank portal, something inside feels different, dangerous on a level that even the most experienced hunters might consider a threat. His instincts tell him this is no routine raid. Shahin, meanwhile, doesn't lag behind and decides to hurry along. I'm bored. All right, enough, sir. Now let's get to it. Time to see Jingu and Kargalgan throw down. But put on some badass fight music. Come on, that's the good stuff. Shut that crazy old man up already, says our protagonist, who immediately unleashes a special ability that boosts all his soldiers' stats by 50%, making them even more powerful. Not only did Iron and Igris turn purple, but now they're buffed up too. Thus, with incredible coordination, Jingu stands up to the old orc. You're good at fighting, oh man. Though the orcs outnumber him, Jingu's skills and his shadow army are unmatched. Except for Igris, Iron, and Tank, the rest of the shadows are at least B rank, meaning they're easily destroyed by the orc leader. Here, Jingu decides to stop messing around and shows his true abilities, the hacks, as the kids call them. Fight dogs, our main man turns Kargalgan's fallen orcs into new members of his army. And not only that, he threatens the dungeon boss, promising he'll be next. During this brief clash, Kargalgan drops a deadly bombshell. The orc leader refers to Jingu as a monarch. This moment is pivotal, as no one had used this title for him until now. Kargalgan doesn't just call him that, he also reveals that ever since they awakened, they were given a purpose: to kill humans. He doesn't know who brought them here or why, they've simply followed orders without question. Yet now, he can't fathom why a monarch like Jingu has chosen to side with humans and fight against them. Despite his doubts, the orc leader has no choice but to face him. In desperation, he tries to rely on his powerful curses to gain the upper hand, but he soon realizes something terrifying. None of them work against Jingu. Realizing he's losing, Kargalgan resorts to his last trick, expanding his size to boost his strength. But as Jingu points out, growing in size just makes you an easier target. You've pissed me off enough, says our hero, who then tasers the giant monster. Farah, that's it! Farah, that's it! After a devastating attack, the fight comes to an end. Jingu not only levels up, but also manages to extract the orc leader's shadow, adding it to his army. Since he doesn't remember his real name, he decides to call him Tusk, a priceless addition to his forces. However, before he can fully process his new acquisition, something catches his attention. From the moment the battle began, he was so focused on facing Kargalgan that he hadn't noticed his surroundings. Everyone is watching him. Team B, Jin Chul, and among them, Chahain, who entered with the intent to save the trapped hunters but is now speechless at the scene before her. Why does this turn me on so much? The reason for her astonishment is clear. Jingu has single-handedly cleared an A-rank dungeon. For the association, this defies all logic. A raid of this level should have required a full team of high-ranking hunters. Yet there stands Jingu amidst the aftermath of the battle, his shadow army deployed around him, with Tusk, his newest acquisition, by his side. The impact of this moment is immense. For Jin Chul, it confirms his suspicions. Jingu is no ordinary hunter. For Chahain, it's undeniable proof that the man who intrigued her so much is far more powerful than she ever imagined. And for Team B, it's a reminder that they've witnessed something few could even dream of achieving. From this moment on, Jingu can no longer fly under the radar. His abilities have been exposed to key figures, and the repercussions are about to catch up with him. The revelation of Jingu as an S-rank hunter is on the verge of shaking the entire hunter world. What had been mere speculation will soon become an undeniable reality, and the high-ranking community is already starting to mobilize around it. Key figures like Baek Yunho, President Go Gun-hee, and now Captain Choi, leader of the most powerful guild, have begun to grasp the magnitude of the phenomenon before them. None of them can ignore it. This isn't just another S-rank hunter. Jingu has demonstrated something that defies everything thought possible. The problem is simple, but its impact is colossal. Solo clearing a high-level A-rank dungeon is in theory impossible. Even seasoned S-rank hunters would rely on a support team to handle the sheer number of enemies and the difficulty of the environment. Yet Jingu has done it alone. This not only makes him an anomaly within the hunter system, but also a key asset no guild can afford to lose. The contrast becomes even starker when Choi, arguably Korea's most powerful hunter, reflects on the situation. If he had been in that dungeon, could he have done what Jingu did? The answer is clear. No. And that thought is terrifying for anyone who had considered themselves the pinnacle of power among hunters until now. For this reason, recruiting Jingu into a guild is no longer just an option or a luxury. It's an absolute priority. White Tiger, hunters, and possibly other organizations will do everything in their power to ensure this new titan doesn't slip from their grasp. But here lies the great unknown. What will Jingu decide? Throughout his journey, he has shown he's not someone easily manipulated or influenced. He hasn't expressed interest in joining any guild, and his power only continues to grow. Now that the entire hunter community is in an uproar, the pressure on him will be greater than ever. Will he accept an offer from one of the major guilds, or will he choose an entirely different path? Jingu's future as an S-rank hunter is about to be defined, and with it, the balance of power in the hunter world is on the verge of changing forever. The revelation of Jingu as an S-rank hunter is about to completely shake the world of hunters. What had until now been mere speculation will become an undeniable reality, and the high-ranking community is already starting to mobilize around this fact. This isn't just another S-rank hunter. Jingu has demonstrated something that defies everything once thought impossible. For this reason, recruiting Jingu into a guild is no longer a simple option or luxury. It's an absolute priority. It's this rivalry between the Hunters and White Tiger guilds that flares up ahead of this major announcement. Oh right, I didn't mention it earlier, but alongside this, we're introduced to Lee Min-sung, a hugely famous Korean actor. They say he's as famous as, or even more famous than, BTS. The thing is, Lee Min-sung had the bad luck of being scheduled on the same day as Jingu, which only creates a conflict of interest. Truth be told, our hunters only care about Jingu. The so-called Lee Min-sung doesn't matter to anyone. Well, with one exception, Lim Tangu, a tremendously powerful S-rank hunter and leader of the Reaper Guild, who, by the way, has already signed a contract with this big actor. But back to the main point, Jingu is escorted to the evaluation room by none other than Gogun Hee. Bi Yunho and Captain Choi are left speechless as they witness our protagonist's true abilities live and in full color. Jingu reveals his shadow manipulation, a skill that amazes everyone, allowing him to summon up to 100 shadows. At this point, the evaluation ends and Jingu decides to ignore the most powerful guilds in the country. Only the captains of Hunters and White Tiger can grasp the situation. Jingu is on another level. He's completely outclassed them. This raises a big question. What decision will Jingu make? Throughout his journey, he's shown that he's not someone easily manipulated or influenced. He hasn't expressed interest in joining any guild, and his power just keeps growing. Now that the entire hunter community is in an uproar, the pressure on him will be greater than ever. Will he accept an offer from one of the major guilds, or will he choose an entirely different path? Jingu's future as an S-rank hunter is about to be defined, and with it, the balance of power in the hunter world will change forever. The rise of this hunter is no longer just a rumor. It's a fact shaking the world. However, the news spreads faster than expected thanks to an unexpected figure. Lee Min-sung, the famous Korean actor. Due to his fame, TV cameras were focused on his hunter evaluation, but what was supposed to be a media event centered on him quickly turns into something entirely different. The true star of the day ends up being none other than Jingu. Footage of Jingu as the new S-rank hunter airs on television and goes viral across the country. What was recently a secret is now public knowledge. This triggers a wave of reactions, from shocked hunters to guilds and authorities scrambling to secure his loyalty. Jingu can no longer fly under the radar. As the news spreads, Jinho's father asks him if he managed to convince Jingu to join their guild, but Jinho's response isn't what he hoped for. With a mix of frustration and admiration, he admits that Jingu turned down the offer. Jingu has no plans to join any guild, instead he's decided to form his own. And most surprisingly, he's offered the vice captain position to his best friend. After presenting the guild to Jinho, Jinho is stunned but regretfully can't accept his father's offer, as he's chosen to join Jingu's guild. Meanwhile, amidst all this chaos and the crowd surrounding Jingu, Big Junho watches the situation with growing suspicion. Something doesn't add up. How could someone like Jingu achieve such a power spike in so little time? Until now, the most accepted explanation was the theory of a second awakening, a rare but known phenomenon. But Beg no longer buys that theory. In his analysis, he arrives at an even more shocking hypothesis. What if Jingu's power has no limit? Beg begins to suspect that Jingu has the unique ability to continuously level up, something impossible for any other hunter. If true, this would completely rewrite the rules of the hunter world. With his current power level, Jingu is already in a league of his own, and the terrifying part is that he might keep growing without restraint. Is this even possible? A hunter who levels up endlessly? This becomes abundantly clear when Beg, using his special ability, can precisely gauge someone's skills. Jingu is stronger than before, but now he's on another level entirely. It's at this moment that the White Tiger leader successfully predicts Jingu's creation of an entirely new guild. Of course, with his power, nothing is impossible. Toward the second half of the episode, a pivotal moment in the story unfolds. Jingu, now recognized as Korea's 10th S-rank hunter, faces the consequences of his rising fame. The media frenzy and the onslaught of recruiters and reporters affect not only his life but also his family's privacy. Despite this, Jingu stays focused on his main goal, returning to the Demon Castle to obtain the final ingredient needed to create the Elixir of Life, the only known cure for his mother's illness. To ensure his sister and home's safety during his absence, Jingu uses his shadow manipulation ability, deploying shadow soldiers as a protective system. This reflects the remarkable growth of his power, allowing him to execute defensive strategies effortlessly. His capacity has improved exponentially, enabling him to manage multiple shadows simultaneously without compromising his combat performance. In parallel, the chapter reveals key information about the illness known as eternal sleep, the condition that has kept Jingu's mother in a coma. Unfortunately, we learn that it has also been diagnosed in Jinho's father, his ally and heir to the Yojin Guild. Here it's explained that eternal sleep is actually caused by exposure to magical energy, suggesting a direct link between portals, the awakening of hunter powers, and the emergence of this disease in those close to them. This heightens Jingu's urgency to find a cure before it's too late. As the story progresses, the weight of responsibility on Jingu becomes even more apparent. But meanwhile, a threat of unimaginable magnitude looms over the hunter world. On an island near Japan, something unthinkable has happened. An ant has reached the mainland alive. This event signals that the creatures from YYU Island might be evolving and posing an even greater danger than anticipated. If these ants manage to establish themselves in new territories, the world could face a devastating crisis. This hints at an unprecedented calamity about to unfold. With this revelation, the story takes a chilling turn, setting the stage for an imminent battle where Jingu and the world's most powerful hunters will have to make drastic decisions to contain this new threat. Humanity's survival hangs in the balance, and the true scale of this problem is only beginning to emerge. The episode's climax plunges us into Jingu's perilous expedition inside the Demon Castle, facing endless hordes of demons. The hunter demonstrates absolute control over the situation, managing his abilities and increasingly powerful shadow army with great efficiency. To optimize his progress, Jingu decides to split his forces into several teams with two simple orders: eliminate any enemy in their path and find the entry permit needed to ascend further in the castle. This strategy allows broader territory coverage and accelerates his progress, granting him a massive amount of experience in a short time. Moreover, as his shadows fight, Jingu notices an intriguing phenomenon. His subordinates also grow stronger, leveling up with each victory, making this incursion a resounding success. However, an unexpected concern soon arises. Jingu begins to notice that the number of shadows under his control is gradually decreasing while his energy depletes at an alarming rate. This can only mean one thing: his warriors have encountered a formidable enemy. But that's not all. These adversaries are attacking with a well-defined strategy, indicating they possess intelligence and aren't mere wild creatures. Jingu immediately senses the vast power gap between these enemies and the common demons he's faced so far. Yet, this doesn't stop him. With his overwhelming strength and superior tactics, he takes down his opponents one by one with lethal efficiency. As the nights fall, the last enemy watches in stunned terror as his comrades meet their fate, paralyzed by fear. As the battle in the demon castle intensifies and questions pile up, new uncertainties emerge. What is the true extent of this threat? What other dangers might lie in Jingu's path? And most importantly, will there be anyone capable of challenging his growing power? This chapter leaves us on the edge of our seats, solidifying Jingu's rise while setting the stage for even more intense conflicts. The story continues to unfold at a breakneck pace, keeping us in suspense about the challenges awaiting our protagonist. Continuing directly from the previous episode, Jinwu keeps desperately searching to complete his ascent to the 100th floor of the demon castle. However, upon reaching the 80th floor, he encounters some minor issues. Although he personally dispatches most of the demons with ease, there's one he decides to leave for last. At first glance, this knight seems to be just another demon, but in reality it turns out to be one of the most prominent and beloved characters in solo leveling. That's right, it's none other than Lady Essel, the demon mommy. Unlike the ruthless enemies Jinwu has faced before, Essel shows genuine fear and regrets attacking him. In a surprising twist, she begs for mercy and is willing to offer anything in exchange for her life. Jinwu, pragmatic as ever, considers her proposal and asks for the only thing that interests him at that moment: the entry permit to continue climbing the demon castle. However, given Easel's history of betrayal and unreliability, Jinwu questions whether he can truly trust her. After analyzing the situation and noting that her desperation seems genuine, he decides to accept the deal. She will give him the permit, and he will continue on his way without further complications. Before leaving, Jinwu decides to take advantage of the opportunity to extract more information from her. He asks about her origins and those of the demons inhabiting the castle. Essel reveals that she comes from the demon world, and that both she and her clan were forcibly brought to this place. According to her, as soon as they opened their eyes, they found themselves trapped in the castle. Unlike other enemies Jinwu has faced, Essel and her people don't seem to follow the orders of a voice urging them to kill humans. Instead, they were tasked with guarding this area. But just as she's about to reveal more, the damn system interferes once again. Just as it did with Baruka and Kargalgan in the past, the system blocks Essel, preventing her from disclosing crucial secrets. Essel tries to talk about an impending war, but her speech is abruptly cut off with glitches and question marks. Who exactly are these demons fighting against? What is the system hiding so diligently? Why is there an enemy so powerful it can't even be named? These questions linger in the air, leaving an aura of mystery that promises something big. Meanwhile, on an island in Japan, the chapter shifts to a scene of chaos and destruction. The threat anticipated in the previous episode fully unleashes. The dreaded magic ants have reached the Japanese shores. One of these creatures manages to cross the sea and reach solid ground, attacking humans indiscriminately. Despite the efforts of Japanese hunters, containing this single ant proves to be a colossal challenge. What's most alarming is its behavior, which demonstrates intelligence beyond that of an ordinary monster, further complicating the mission. After an entire day of confrontations with hundreds of hunters and civilians losing their lives, they finally managed to neutralize it. From Japan's perspective, this was a reasonable price given the magnitude of the problem, but the incident raises alarms in South Korea. If a single ant caused such devastation in Japan, what would happen if a similar attack occurred on South Korean soil? Would they be able to contain it? The affected island is relatively close to Jeju Island, suggesting that a similar disaster could strike Korea at any moment. Goguryeo and other high-ranking officials begin assessing the situation, aware that the threat is imminent and they must prepare for the worst. In this context, Goto Ryuji is introduced, Japan's most powerful S-rank hunter, though in the anime they gave him a different name, which I'll explain later. To give you an idea of the gravity of the situation, Japan has 21 S-rank hunters, and 11 of them belong to Goto's guild, the Draw Sword Guild. Unlike Korea, where power is distributed among 5 guilds, Japan has a monopoly led by Goto Ryuji, who wields near absolute authority. This contrast highlights the difference between the two countries. While Korea's power is fragmented, Japan is dominated by a single man. Goto offers his full support to deal with the Jeju Island crisis. He proposes creating an allied force composed solely of elite hunters, arguing that it's the only way to ensure success in the upcoming raid. The threat of the ants is clear. They're as powerful as high-ranking hunters, but their short lifespan offers a small window of opportunity to eradicate the colony. However, this mission will be extremely complicated, and Korea lacks the resources to face it alone. This is where Goto steps in. This calculating man has a clear goal: to elevate his status to that of a national hunter, a title reserved only for the world's strongest. And what are national hunters, you might ask? No trouble explaining it at all. It's said that these hunters are far above S rank, with unique powers and abilities that set them apart from the rest. Each has overcome at least one S rank gate, which, according to Goto, is the minimum requirement to join their ranks. Considered the world's strongest hunters, they live like kings, wielding colossal influence over society and doing as they please. This raises suspicions in Goguryeo, who fears that Japan's offer of help hides selfish motives. Despite his doubts, he can't deny that Japan's intervention is vital. The ants evolve quickly, and delaying the raid could be disastrous if they all develop the ability to fly. Though accepting Goto's proposal might bring long-term political and strategic repercussions, Goguryeo understands he has no other choice. Finally, both sides agree to work together and begin planning a coordinated raid. But enough with all this chatter. Let's get to the point. Back to Jinwoo and Isol. After sealing their collaboration, she takes him to her father, the leader of the Radier clan. Though initially hostile toward Jinwoo, the leader changes his attitude upon hearing his daughter and sensing the hunter's immense power. He decides to cooperate, and Jinwoo, with his firm yet calculated demeanor, sets his terms. The entry permit to the next floor and Ezel's company as a guide, since she knows the locations of the other permits. After some hesitation, the leader agrees but asks Jinwoo to promise not to endanger his daughter. With his usual confidence, Jinwoo gives his word, sealing the deal. Thus, the two set off immediately. From this point on, Jinwoo's journey becomes a whirlwind of epic battles. Clan after clan, he tears them apart, taking the opportunity to level up his shadow warriors. In the final stretch, Jinwoo decides to part ways with Ezel, but she flatly refuses and insists on following him to witness the outcome of his fight. Ezel, who initially viewed him with fear and distrust, begins to admire him deeply. Her insistence on accompanying him, even when he tries to push her away to protect her, reflects not only her loyalty but also the possible start of romantic feelings. Am I the only one who thinks Ezel might be falling for our chested man? There's no time to confirm it because Jinwoo reaches the 100th floor and comes face to face with the Demon King Baran. This is no ordinary monster. His bearing, his aura. He's even riding a damn dragon. Baran is a sovereign in every sense, and the battle begins explosively. Without wasting time, he unleashes his power, summoning an army of demons straight from the ground. Soldiers, knights, and demon generals ready to take down Jinwoo. The display is so overwhelming that even Ezel, a witness to Jinwoo's feats, is left paralyzed. He's the perfect rival for our protagonist. True to his calculating style, Jinwoo waits until the last moment before unleashing his own shadow army. With a swift command, he activates his Monarch's domain skill, boosting his shadow's strength to an entirely new level. Baran unleashes devastating magical attacks, lightning bolts that illuminate the battlefield and destroy everything in their path. Jinwoo, meanwhile, showcases superhuman agility and endurance, dodging the onslaught and searching for a weak point. He employs all his skills, speed, precision, strength, to match Baran's powerful attacks, who combines brute force and advanced magic to keep him at bay. For the first time in a long while, Jinwoo feels the pressure of combat. When he finally manages to knock Baran off his dragon, the battle shifts from the sky to solid ground, and the real showdown begins. From the start, it's clear that Jinwoo is facing an enemy who surpasses him in power and strategy. As the fight progresses, his mana gauge depletes rapidly, highlighting how demanding this battle is, even for him. Baran shows no mercy, eliminating Jinwoo's shadows one after another. In an unexpected twist, just as the Demon King is about to finish him off, a crucial intervention changes the tide. Ezel, who has accompanied him on this mission, distracts Baran at the most critical moment. This gives Jinwoo the perfect opportunity to strike back. With brute force and determination, he delivers a lethal blow that ends the Demon King's reign. With this victory, Jinwoo completes the Demon Castle mission, one of the toughest he's ever faced. His success not only grants him a personal reward, but also alters the fate of the Reindeer clan. By destroying rival demons, he positions Essel's clan as the top power, securing their supremacy in this world. However, this victory raises new questions and challenges. With the threat of the ants on Jeju Island growing, the true test is yet to come. Plus, now that he's obtained the materials to create the elixir of life, the possibility of saving his mother is within reach. This chapter wraps up the epic battle against Baran with a bang and sets the stage for future events full of intrigue, danger, and tough decisions. Will Jinwoo be able to save his mother? How will he face the ant threat? Without a doubt, our protagonist's journey grows more thrilling and challenging with every step. Continuing directly where the previous episode left off, after an intense battle, Jinwoo finally defeated the Demon King, bringing an end to the long and arduous Demon Castle quest. With his victory comes a great reward, multiple valuable items, experience, and most importantly, the final ingredient needed to craft the elixir of life. This is the moment Jinwoo had been waiting for from the beginning. The ultimate cure for his mother's illness is now in his hands. Despite his confidence in the system, an inevitable doubt creeps in. Will the elixir truly be able to heal her? With this question in mind, he decides to return home immediately. Before departing, Jinwoo sees a unique opportunity to further strengthen his shadow army. Although he cannot revive Bara as a shadow because he is a demon, his mount, a wyvern, can be converted. Thus, Kaisel is born, a majestic flying creature and Jinwoo's first winged shadow. In addition to gaining this powerful soldier, the system grants him a new ability, Shadow Exchange, which allows him to swap his location with any shadow soldier at will. The ability has a 3-hour cooldown, though it can improve over time. Essentially, he has gained an instant teleportation power, something that will completely transform his combat capabilities and mobility. With the urgency of testing the elixir's effectiveness, Jinwoo wastes no time and decides to set off immediately. His sudden departure leaves the demon girl who had accompanied him without a chance to thank him for everything he did. Using his new ability, Jinwoo appears in his neighborhood and decides to take flight atop his spectacular Kaisel. Meanwhile, the situation on Jeju Island continues to escalate. The impending fourth raid against the magic ants is in the preparation phase, and elite hunters are gathering to discuss the details. The chapter takes us to a meeting between Baek Yunho and Min Byung-gyu, a retired S-rank hunter. Min is visibly shaken as he recalls the last raid he participated in, where he tragically lost his friend and comrade, Yoon Jung-yok. The weight of that failure still haunts him. Baek summons him to talk, but surprisingly it's not to recruit him for this new mission. Rather, it's simply to see him one last time before departing. Baek, more than anyone, is aware of the mortal risks this fourth raid entails, and wants to bid farewell to his friend before entering a battle he isn't certain he'll survive. Min appreciates the gesture and, during their conversation, reveals that his true dream has always been to become a history professor, a life completely removed from the brutality of dungeons and bloody combat. Chapter 9 marks a significant turning point in this story. Jinwoo has achieved the impossible, obtaining the elixir of life, a cure that could change his life forever. It's an incredibly difficult decision. What if it doesn't work? What if this is a mistake he can't undo? Jinwoo knows the system has made many miracles possible, defying all logic. He himself is living proof of that. He has gone further than he ever imagined thanks to the system, so he decides to trust it once more. As he gives the elixir to his mother, a childhood memory flashes through his mind. That small detail reflects how much she has sacrificed for him and his sister. As soon as the elixir is administered, his mother begins to show signs of reaction. Her pale skin regains color, and her body responds. However, she doesn't wake up immediately. For the first time, Jinwoo, who has always been calculating and pragmatic, finds himself in a position of absolute vulnerability. While his mother remains unconscious, he can't help but think about why he has fought so hard, why he has grown stronger all this time. The answer has always been the same: his mother. Emotion overwhelms him. The thought of losing her after coming so far tears him apart inside. His mask of a relentless hunter fades, and for the first time, we see him broken, desperate, pleading for the elixir to work. And it's precisely then that the impossible happens. His mother opens her eyes. Her voice, soft but full of life, breaks the silence of the room. Jinwoo freezes upon hearing it. She's awake. After 4 years, she has finally returned. The flood of emotions is uncontrollable. Jinwoo, the S-rank hunter who has faced monsters and defied death countless times, can't hold back his tears. He trembles as he hears his mother speak and struggles to contain the tears, but it becomes impossible when she thanks him. Upon hearing this, Jinwoo simply collapses. Tears stream down his face and he can't, nor does he want to, stop them. The pressure he has endured for years, the weight of loneliness, the responsibility of protecting his sister, the constant fear of losing his mother, all that burden finally releases in this moment. At this point, Jinwoo isn't a hunter or the powerful shadow monarch. He's just a son who, after so long, has gotten his mother back. She gently takes his hand as if she had never left, as if time hadn't passed, and Jinwoo, for the first time in a long while, can let out everything he's been carrying inside. This event, of course, doesn't go unnoticed. Doctors explain how someone with eternal sleep disease after being unconscious for 4 years, waking up out of nowhere is unprecedented. Moreover, the patient is already asking to be discharged. The initial decision is a resounding no. Her case must be carefully studied. She shouldn't even be able to walk, so it's understandable that they're stunned. She's completely healthy. They wonder what happened. Was it the life support? They have no answers. They even consider notifying the entire world. The only problem is that Jinwoo refuses to let his mother stay in the hospital. And as an S-rank hunter, he puts the doctors in a tough spot. It's not like they can stop him. In the end, they agree to his request. Here we witness the reunion between Hina and her mother, a moment of genuine happiness where, for the first time in a long time, Jinwoo can see his family whole and at peace. Reflecting on everything that has happened, he realizes his efforts haven't been in vain. It has all been worth it. However, his phone begins to fill with notifications. Then, he receives a call from none other than the president of the Hunters Association, Go Gun-hee, who has been looking for him all this time. The two agree to meet at the association's offices. There, the president tells him about the raid on Jeju Island, set to take place in 4 days, and says they desperately need his help. In another moment, Jinwoo would have accepted immediately, but now, with his mother back, he grows pensive. Is this the right time? Just then, Jinwoo senses an overwhelming amount of magical energy. Go Gun-hee mentions it's coming from the gym where all the elite hunters, including Goto Ryuji and his guild, are training. The president invites him to take a look, and Jinwoo agrees. At the scene, we see the best of the best. Korea's most powerful hunters training in an incredible display of skills. This moment also serves to introduce the last S-rank hunter we hadn't met yet. Ma Dong-wook makes his official debut. Meanwhile, we see the Japanese S-rank hunter team, led by Goto Ryuji, preparing as well. Toward the episode's climax, we dive into an atmosphere of rivalry and simmering hostility between the Korean and Japanese hunters. The impending raid on Jeju Island has brought together some of the most powerful fighters from both countries. But before facing the magic ants, it seems they'll first have to measure up against each other. From the start, it's clear the Japanese hunters don't respect their Korean counterparts. Goto, the leader of the Japanese team, looks at the Korean hunters with disdain. To him and his team, they're not on the same level. The hostility isn't just verbal. Sharp glares and tense postures between the two sides make it evident that no one trusts anyone. The tension escalates when Jinwoo enters the gym. From the moment he steps through the door, he becomes the center of attention. His mere presence shifts the atmosphere. Even Goto Ryuji, a highly experienced hunter, notices something different about him. He can't ignore the sense of danger radiating from Jinwoo, and though he doesn't say it aloud, his instincts scream at him to keep an eye on him from now on. But before he can dwell on it too much, the tension between the hunters erupts. Goto proposes a showdown between the S-rank hunters, but instead of a simple one-on-one duel, he changes the rules and suggests a group battle. The Korean hunters accept the challenge, and the stage is set for an imminent clash. Who will emerge victorious with the pride of both nations on the line? As Jinwoo watches everything from the shadows, the S-rank hunters are about to prove what they're made of. But what truly stands out in this chapter is the appearance of the most powerful hunter from the United States, Thomas Pecs of Steel Andre, one of the 5 great national-level hunters. What a wild twist!
If you made it to this part of this video, comment the word Anigoat, subscribe, and remember, I upload 3 videos daily. I'll be waiting for you in all 3.